Now with the new FPL season just around the corner, I thought I would run through my favourite free drafts at the moment that are probably going to be very, very close to what we end up with for the game week 1 deadline. Now before we head into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe as we're trying to hit 16,000 subscribers before the start of the season. It is only possible with your help and we're around 250 people away from being able to achieve that goal. So it'd be absolutely immense, of course, if we could hit that today. Now before we get into my drafts, if you want to go and get your own drafts rated by Fantasy Football Hub's amazing AI tool, there is a link in the description to go and get that checked out. It's completely free. Of course, if you want to go and check out some of their paid features on the website as well, I would highly recommend it. It was one of the best tools I used last year to help me achieve my finish, as you can see up above me right now, an 8k finish last year. It was one of the go-to tools I used for captaincy. We've obviously shown that in quite a few videos already this season. The points predicted tool is great. The fantasy, the football tracker as well, the fixture tracker, sorry, is also great. Plenty of great tools. Go and check it out. Link in the description. Right, let's dive into draft number 1 then. And this is an interesting draft. Obviously, a lot of my drafts have a very similar theme, and I'm going to talk that through you. And it's going to be kind of, you know, this more 4-5-1 structure. I actually think every draft that I'm going to show you in today's video is a 4-5-1 structure because I'm very, very happy with my midfielders. It's usually just the defenders and the strikers that I'm swapping around, maybe the goalkeeper, depending on what I'm trying to achieve within that midfield. But as you can see at the back, we've gone for players that do exceptionally well with the DEFCON, Tarkowski, Anderson, Williams, Richards, all absolute beasts in terms of their defensive contributions last season. All play for pretty decent defences as well. Richards is probably the only one that I would be a little bit cautious of. Looks like Gahey maybe picked up an injury in the Community Shield. Also looks like he's potentially going to be on his way out. What impact that is going to have on the Palace defence, we're going to have to wait and see. But overall, losing one of your best defenders for the past few seasons is probably going to make you a worse defence. Let's just say that. But the reason that I like him is this defence really rotates exceptionally well around each other. Virgil obviously didn't have the greatest Community Shield, but neither did Liverpool, neither did Mohamed Salah. But overall, I'm still pretty happy to have that 6 million price tag within the defence. There's so many good players at that price that, of course, the attacking fullbacks, if they do well this season, I want to have the ability to go and get one fairly easy. And that is what having that 6 million placeholder, like Virgil in this case, who I know is going to be decent for clean sheets over the opening few, probably going to pick up a few DEFCON points as well, that we're looking in that position where we're going, right, okay, 6 million, Frimpong breaks on the scene, he looks great, we've got to go and get him. Or Kirkes looks really good, or Aitnuri looks really good. We've got that flexibility, and that is one of the main reasons that I like having that 6 million kind of slot within there. In terms of the midfield, I know a lot of people are going a bit nuts with Salah and selling him off. He's now gone from being the most owned player to the second most owned player, so people are selling him off. But I would just say this, guys, it was the Community Shield. Don't back kind of or change your complete draft structure and your team structure based off one bad performance. It was terrible. There's no getting around it. It was bad, and Salah didn't have a great start to the finish, towards the back end of last season. He just didn't. There's, again, no getting around it. But he's been one of the most consistent point-scoring players, and over the opening 5 for me, there's at least 3, maybe 4 if I go with him in Newcastle for captaincy, where he's going to be the prime target, like I said, for the armband. And that, for me, is the key way to play this game. Always making sure you've got the best captaincy, and Salah just offers you that most weeks at the start of the season. Of course, if we get to, you know, game week 5, once he's played Burnley, once he's played Everton, once he's obviously had this opening 3 fixtures, which are a little bit more difficult, and he's still not performing, then of course, at that 14.5 million price tag, we need to look for alternatives. But for right now, I'm going to be going with him in my lineup for game week 1, regardless of that Community Shield performance. Bruno Fernandes, DEFCON merchant, penalties. For example, the preseason game that he played at the weekend, he would have picked up 10 points with just an assist, because of what he did with DEFCON, what he did for a clean sheet, and obviously that doesn't factor in if he'd actually gone and picked up some bonus points as well. Watkins is absolutely smashing goals in the course of pre-season. Villa's opening fixtures over the opening kind of 6 to 7 games are absolutely stupendous, so I'm really happy with him as well. The problem is we're probably going to take in 2 injured players, Dubravka and Gui, now both flagged within the game. Thiago looks like he could have a little bit of competition as well, so I'm not feeling too confident about the overall state of the bench. But once again, if we can change maybe a few players around, maybe Fulkrug potentially comes in for Thiago here. Maybe we look at a different 4.5. We could be rocking with this team come game week 1, and I wouldn't mind it, to be honest. I think we've got a good blend here of high quality players for DEFCON, lots of players that can go and pick me up some points, and of course, our main focus for every single draft, making sure we've got the best captain for every single week. Moving on to draft number 2, and like I said, it's going to be a very, very similar structure. There's probably only going to be 1 or 2 players swapping out with these drafts. That's how kind of nailed in I am on this 4-5-1 at the moment. I really think DEFCON is going to change the game. If you look at the points scored from defenders last season that picked up those DEFCON points, we had obviously Milenkovic go right clear at the top, but then you had everybody else kind of shift up probably to like this 130 and kind of, 150-ish range, all from their defensive contribution points. If you put that into context, look at the strikers outside of obviously your Vissers, your Watkins. You start focusing on, the Strand Larsens, the Evan Nielsen's, the João Pedro's points last season. They were around that 130 anyway. So why would I pick a player that isn't going to probably play, a full 90 or not have the great fixtures each week, where I could just pick one of these guys, and if they're absolute monsters at DEFCON, could be hitting that 160. It's a big 30-point jump over some of those forwards. And I know it's not, the most flashiest way to play the game, but sometimes just being consistent with the point scoring ability, rather than, of course, the flashy picks that don't always work out, could be a route that really could work this season. So again, we're seeing a very similar defence. Obviously, Murillo's come in ahead of Williams. I'm a little bit concerned with them, of course, linked with Lees Davis. If that kind of dies down the closer we get to the deadline, I probably will go for Nico Williams, free up an extra 0.5 to maybe upgrade that last draft, or, of course, put it into this draft and maybe look for some other replacements as well. Gabriel's come in as well, obviously starting games in pre-season now, so I'm very confident on his minutes. Not the easiest opening fixture or match day 3 either. However, it is that game week 2 fixture against Leeds. They've also got some good fixtures following that. Arsenal on top on the 11-5 projected clean sheet model as well. So I do like Gabriel as an option as well. In the midfield, we've made one change, and it is going to be Florian Wirtz. I think it's super high ownership, and what Liverpool could do to a Bournemouth backline that have been conceding goals for fun at the moment really, really frightens me if I was only owning Mohamed Salah. I think Wirtz is probably the most kind of the second nailed player within that attacking lineup for me personally right now, looking at kind of the pre-season minutes and the way that Liverpool have been lining up. So I like Wirtz as an option at 8.5. Obviously, we've got some other options a little bit lower at the 7.5 if it doesn't quite work out. Or, of course, if we want to go even further down, we can then reinvest that money into one of the strikers and upgrade one of the 4.5s after the opening few game weeks. But like I said, the problem with this draft for me is the lack of bench cover. All the money has been literally shoved into the starting 11. There is very, very minimal kind of funds or even players on the bench, to be honest. We've got Dubravka, who's flagged, but Verbergen, I'm happy to go with him. Esteb probably should play 90 minutes every single week, so at least we've got one player to come off the bench if anybody, of course, is injured, doesn't feature. Gui is flagged, which isn't great, and then the other one is the Bournemouth 4.5 million striker. So again, the bench cover very, very thin. If we get, a big stack of injuries, that could put this team in the mud early doors. However, I do like that all the money is in the starting 11, and we've got, honestly, look at that midfield. Salah, Palmer, Wirtz, Fernandes. We've also got Watkins as well. This, honestly, is a very, very ferocious team. But for our third and final draft, it is a little bit of a tweak with this one with some bench cover as well. So let's take a look at that before we finish up. And as you can see here, it is a very, very similar looking lineup. Williams has come back in to allow us to afford some forwards. And we've, of course, dropped Watkins as well. So we brought in João Pedro, again, one of the most highly owned players. Absolutely smashing it out of the park in terms of his pre-season minutes as well. We've got ourselves that extra striker cover rather than having Watkins. We've given ourselves Strand Larsen. I really like him as an option, to be honest, especially if we can get some confirmation that he is going to be the penalty taker for this Wolves side. I think he could be absolutely stupendous. But again, we're going with that 4-5-1 structure. We've got that opportunity to drop Strand Larsen in rather than, of course, playing a 4-back every single week. But overall, you have to argue that this team, again, is looking really, really strong. I want to see what you guys think to all of these teams in the comments section. Let me know which draft do you prefer, 1, 2, or 3. Of course, any questions you've got about your team as well, get them in, as we'll try to answer as many questions as we possibly can. But thank you for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 1.